Hey everybody, Josh Winkler here with Cripple Concepts. I want to start this video by thanking Caleb over at Magazine. This weekend he featured our YouTube channel here as the weekend watch. There'll be a link down below. Really nice article about it too. Caleb does some custom controllers for people with disabilities for video game systems. And he stumbled on videos on YouTube, so was super excited that he asked to feature our videos. Got a lot of hits, got a lot of subscribers off that, so I really appreciate that. And I hope that people with disabilities out there that are fans of Make, which I've been following Make for years, start kind of trying to do stuff, trying to get involved. As I've mentioned in several of these videos, I never would have thought in 1998 when I got paralyzed that I would ever pick up a wrench again, that I'd ever be back in the shop. And I was a good student, so college was not like a big surprise that I would go to college, but I never just wanted a desk job. I like making things. So if I can help, I hate the word inspire, but if I can help encourage others, give other people ideas on maybe how they can set up some equipment that they can run. If you have an apartment, get a little 3D printer, get a little laser cutter. You can start small scale, start with some cheaper small scale stuff, and maybe one day upgrade. I always am up for upgrading more of my stuff, but I've got a pretty good setup now on what I have and what's working. So start wherever you can. So really appreciate that. But one of the things I mentioned in a video 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and Caleb actually kind of closed the Make article with, and I think it's important. It's about the fact that most people with disabilities live in poverty, that have to live on very few assets and very limited income in order to get their needs met, in order to get things like Medicaid. And for people like myself, I get choice stay home health care. Without Medicaid, I don't have that. So I have to play by the rules, and the rules are complicated and they vary. But there are a few options to help people work. And I just want to touch on a few of them. I'm going to keep this video real brief today. I have a whole video about why people with disabilities don't work. I think I finally got this card thing down, so in theory right above my fist right now there's going to be a card to a video that I made a few years ago on an old YouTube channel that I haven't put anything up on in a while, about why people with disabilities don't work. And there are very, very, very valid reasons. I technically, according to Social Security, don't work right now. I did turn a very small profit last year, around $700 small, so but that's because I just kept reinvesting everything I made back into the business. And so the first thing I'm going to touch on is probably the most unheard of, unknown part or program out there. It's something called PESS, Property Essential for Self-Support. Now, I looked on YouTube. There's no videos about PESS. It's so unknown. There's a link down below to a PDF book about self-employment by a group called Griffin, Hammis. They thank them so much for putting out that PDF. I've learned from it, and I know a lot of other folks who have learned from this PDF 60-page manual or so about ways of being self-employed with a disability and way to work the system to make it work for you. I don't want to say take advantage of the system, but work the system so it actually works the way I think most people intended for it to work. So what Property Essential for Self-Support is and does, I'll also put the Social Security POMS link down below. It basically says any assets that are part of your business are not your personal assets in terms of how Social Security and Medicaid views your assets. For SSI and for Medicaid recipients receiving long-term services and supports in most states, they're stuck to a $2,000 asset limit. Yeah, let me say that again. $2,000 asset limit. That was established in, I believe, 1983 and has never been raised. There is $3,500 if you're married, but I'm not even going to get into that issue. So $2,000 asset limit. You're allowed one house and one car with limitations on those. It can't be a Lamborghini in a mansion. And then $2,000 in assets. So Property Essential for Self-Support, it means anything that belongs to your business that is part of your intended means of making money. And intended is an important word there, because I've used that provision for 7 or 8 years now. And last year is the first year I turned a profit on the business. But all those assets are not counted as part of your personal assets. Now, Social Security people aren't going to understand that. Medicaid people aren't going to understand that. County social workers will never understand that. But if you know your rights, that is the law, and you can defend it, and you can win. You'd win if you had to appeal or something. You'd show a judge the paperwork on what PESS is according to Social Security, and you ultimately would win your case and be able to keep your benefits. So PESS is a very important provision. Very little understanding of it. Very important. The next is PASS, which is what most people think that you're mistaking when you say PESS. PESS, property essential for self-support. PASS, plan for achieving self-support. A lot of people know what a PASS is. They call it a PASS plan. You write it up. You work with your local PASS cadre, they call it, at Social Security. And it allows you to put income from your business towards a business goal. And the best way I'm going to explain this by example. I've done 2 PASS plans. I did one when I was in college, and that was to make the payments on my van. I worked before I got hurt when I was 17. I worked on dairy farms, got paid, got taxed, all that. It was legitimate employment. You can start at any age on a farm. It's the one way they can still exploit you. But I made minimum wage and a little tiny bit higher at one job. The good news was, when I was 17, I got $160 a month SSDI, which is what you get if you've worked, and I got the remainder up to, I think at the time it was 5 1/4 total, SSI, which was good and bad. It made things complicated. It made it so 18 months after I got hurt, or maybe it was 24, I got Social Security, or I got Medicare, which is a nice thing to have, but is also a pain in the ass to have that in Medicaid. But what it also did is it meant that I could start this PASS plan when I was in college. And I took that $160 a month and I put that towards my van, because buying a van was going to help me finish school, which was going to help me get a job. So $160 a month went towards the van. Well, SSI made up that $160. So essentially I ended up with $160 extra every month, but I had to put that extra $160 towards the van. Roll ahead a few years, I worked, I got laid off, got on unemployment, ended back on SSDI. I wanted to do another PASS plan to really get the business up and going. Actually, it was to get back on Medicaid initially, because if you're on SSI, you have to get Medicaid according to federal law, at least as it is today. So I did a PASS plan, another PASS plan, and that one was way more vague. And I have to say, at the time, the PASS cadre person in Colorado was fantastic. She's since retired, and I'm really sad about that, because I've considered doing another PASS. And the first person I worked with was not near as good as the last person I worked with. So my last PASS, I bought some tools and equipment. It paid half of my mortgage, rent, our mortgage, insurance, and taxes for a couple of years. I put a new roof on the garage for like $8,000. I'm trying to think, it bought a variety of things over like a 2-year period that really helped kickstart the business. And I lived on SSI during that time. I'd spent my entire SSDI check plus whatever I made those months on PASS plan items. And then Social Security gave me SSI, which was around $700 a month, which is what I had to live on. So I had very little to live on, but I could survive because half of my mortgage, half of my taxes, half of my insurance on the house was all being paid out of that PASS, which meant my monthly portion was reasonable. I could afford that out of the $700, still afford to buy some food and a little bit of gas for the car. All the business expenses were basically being covered by that PASS plan. So that was huge, that was huge. And like I say, that got me mandatory Medicaid because I was on SSI. Ended that PASS plan, successfully ended that. And now I'm actually considering doing a third one. And I could do a third one and either name one specific piece of equipment or funding for inventory, or you could do a lot of things. I could do a 2-month PASS. I could do a 2-year PASS. You have all sorts of options in there. They're a lot of paperwork. They're kind of a pain in the ass to get set up, but it's kind of like a business plan. It forces you to think things out. So PASS plan's really huge. Again, check out the Griffin Hammis PDF down below. There's a lot of information there on PASS plans. And I'm going to throw a card up here. I probably already threw it up earlier, but hey, up here there's going to be a card about what a PASS plan is. Really long video, but really informative video. The third and final thing I want to talk about for funding a business for a person with disability is the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation, or Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. Every state has one. Everybody hates them. Everybody complains about them. They're a pain in the ass and make you jump through hoops. All of that's true. All of that's very true. Colorado's was a cluster, a complete cluster 5 or 6 years ago. As I mentioned in other videos, I do a bit of disability advocacy on the side. I advocated really hard to get the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation moved from our Department of Human Services that does things like child welfare and food stamps over to our Division of Labor and Employment in Colorado, which deals with, guess what, labor and employment. CDHS coddles people, CDLE expects people to get jobs. I felt that it was the right decision. I stand by that decision, and I think in the long run it'll be a really good decision that we got that moved over to CDLE because their focus is employment. And when there's some bumps in the road, and it's going to take a while to get there, there's a lot of ingrained culture in the division, but I do think that Voc Rehab can do a good job. Now, what's Voc Rehab done for me? Again, let's talk about an example here. They paid for my bachelor's degree, tuition, books. They paid for my master's degree, tuition and books. They paid for the conversion on my first van, lowered floor and hand controls, $20,000. And then they gave me a fuel stipend, and they paid for my parking when I had my van when I was still going to school. Successfully ended that, got a job, worked for 5 years. Everything was hunky-dory. Got laid off, got on unemployment, back in SSDI, signed back up for DVR services. DVR is short for Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. Signed back up for DVR services, this time in their self-employment program. And I said, I want to start my own business. Like, the day job just isn't working for me. It's really hard on my health to keep driving back and forth to work every day and working their hours. I can go work 14 hours in my shop one day and then do 2 the next. My commute's easy. I roll from the back door of the house to the side door of the garage. All easier. So I had one thing and one thing only that I wanted. The standard cap on DVR services for self-employment in Colorado is $10,000. I wanted SolidWorks. So in 2012, actually late 2011, I got SolidWorks 2012 version with all the simulation package, which was $9,999. And Voc Rehab paid for that. So I now have a legal license of SolidWorks. I'm still operating on 2012. I'm fine with that. It works great. I know the software. It does everything I need to do. And it's going to take me years to earn back $10,000. I could not have afforded to do that. And at the time, Autodesk's Fusion 360 wasn't out. So there were a couple free CAD programs, low-cost CAD programs, but they had a long ways to go around 2010, 2011. I had used SolidWorks in college. I used SolidWorks in my job. I liked SolidWorks. So they bought me a $10,000 software package. And while I wasn't making money, I wasn't making a net profit, I was making gross profits. So again, I was a positive case closure for Voc Rehab because I was working. I wasn't generating enough income to survive on yet. I was still getting SSDI. But it was a good closure for them. In the long run, it will make my company successful. Without SolidWorks, I would have had a really hard time getting going. It means I didn't have to try getting illegal software because that would have been my only option at the time, was to get an illegal copy of software. So I have a fully legit version. I run one copy on my laptop, one on my desktop. I can make tweaks to drawings right in the shop. I'm able to use this on the 3D printer. I bought a copy of Bobcat, which it sucks, and I'm tired of their damn phone calls. So Bobcat people, if you're listening, stop calling me. I'm tired of seeing a number. If you see a 727 number and you're a Bobcat customer, you look at your phone and you're like, leave me alone. I'll call you when I want new software. Sorry, total tangent, but I'm tired of those calls 3 days a week. I don't want to upgrade. I'll upgrade if I want to. I'll buy a different software. I'm tired of you hounding me. sorry, it really pisses me off when a company that I've done business with just keeps hounding me. Side note, Cripple Concepts is going to start sending a newsletter, so unsubscribe if you don't want it. If you do want to get on the mailing list, I'll throw a link down below because I don't really know how to do it. I'm using MailChimp, so I'm figuring out how to do the newsletter. I'm going to start sending that out maybe once a month or so with kind of updates and some deals. So yeah, those are 3 ways to fund your business, and I think that's important because Caleb's right. Back to the beginning introduction of the video, funding equipment for a person with a disability is difficult. When you have a $2,000 asset limit, if you're on SSI and you're living on $735 a month, you can't afford even a $1,000 3D printer, let alone a $5,000 or $10,000 CNC machine. But if you can work with DVR, set up a PASS plan, understand how PESS works, you can start building a business. I really believe somebody in an apartment could buy a $1,000 3D printer, couple spools of filament, and maybe not make a living, maybe not get off of Social Security, maybe not get off of even food stamps, but could make a little bit of money, could make some things to help their own life out, and really could build it into a micro business. I'm not even going to say a small business, a micro business. But I believe you can make parts for yourself and friends, download Fusion 360 and just, drop some parts. And if it's a legitimate business, there's help out there for you. A lot of states have Medicaid buy-in programs. I can't tout that enough. Again, link down below. There's going to be a lot of links down below today. Link down below to Colorado's Medicaid buy-in program. Very proud of that program. It's finally starting to really work well. A little bit of glitches on eligibility, but there's a few thousand people on it now in Colorado that are buying into their Medicaid because they're employed, which also in Colorado means you don't have an asset limit, which is huge. I can look at my personal bank account now and not freak out that I have more than $2,000 in there, because for the majority of my adult life, I had to be terrified if I had more than $2,000 to my name, which is just absurd. A lot of problems to fix still in the system, but there are things out there, there are things that work. So if you're interested in being self-employed as a person with a disability, I highly, highly, highly recommend download the PDF down below, the Griffin Hammis PDF down below. You will learn so much. There are good opportunities out there, and I really believe self-employment is the best solution for a lot of people with disabilities. That a standard 9-to-5 commute back and forth, long hours at somebody else's location is all really difficult. And if you can do it from the privacy of your own home, your own garage, you go rent a shop and run it, whatever it is. I really think self-employment is the answer for a lot of people with disabilities if they just knew how to get started. So with that, I hope you keep watching. I know these videos are kind of varying. If you don't like what I'm doing, comment down below and say, hey, get back to machining stuff. Get back to some welding. We want to see the 3D printer. Make something out of wood on the router. Show us how you're upgrading that DM3000 lathe that you haven't finished yet. You can't see it here, but it's sitting beside me. Still not running, so it's high on my mind. So anyway, yeah, if there's something else you want to see, if there's more information about self-employment or disability employment programs, hit me up down below and send me a note, and I'll let you know what I know. I only know what's worked for me. I don't know what works for everybody. I don't do that for a living. I've never helped anybody else get their own business going. But I know the programs have been very successful for me once I've taken the time to work my way through them. So with all that said, this short video ended up being, I think, 20 minutes long. So thanks for watching. I hope everybody's having a good 2017 so far. And again, check out the Make Magazine web watch down below. Caleb did a great job. So thanks, Caleb.